Alhamdulillah wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. These are things which invalidate our prayer. They make our prayer no good. Now, why am I talking about this? Am I talking to hear myself? Or am I talking because these things help you come closer to Allah? Which one do you think it is? Jazakumullah khairan. It's to help you to come closer to Allah, to help us all. Because we need to be reminded. Why? Because the reminder benefits the believer. Tanfa'ul mu'mineen. That benefits the believer. The believer needs to hear good things. Even if they know that good thing, they need to hear it again to help them, to better themselves. So, these are some things, quickly, that make your prayer no good if you do it. So please listen, Sana. Pay attention. These things, what am I going to talk about? What am I talking about? Huh? What about salat? These are things that what?
That makes you close to Allah.
They make you closer to Allah, but these are things which make your prayer no good if you do them. They make your prayer invalid, that you have to pray over. So beware. This is very serious. Right? The first thing, speaking deliberately during the prayer. If you're talking. So if you're having a conversation with somebody, you're not praying to Allah, but you're talking to somebody else. Oh yeah, what's going on? You're joking or something. No. Your prayer, concentrate and pray to your Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, verily prayer in which there is speech of the people will not be correct. It is only tasbih, takbir, and recitation of the Quran. That's what it is. And we already mentioned the pillars and the wajibat. That tasbih and takbir, Sami Allahu liman hamida, Rabbana wa lakal hamd, Allahu Akbar. This is the prayer and the Quran. That's what the salat, the mu'min is. It's not having a conversation with somebody else. So if you have a conversation, is your prayer accepted? If you talk to somebody else just a little bit, of course not. It's not accepted. Barakallahu feek. But also, if a person, as is mentioned in the hadith of Abu Dhar al-Ghafari, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that the Prophet ﷺ said, a Muslim man's prayer is cut if he has nothing before him, such as the end of a saddle. So that means you need a sutra. That means if nothing's in front of him, and then a woman walks behind and cuts his prayer, or also a black dog or a donkey and a black dog. This is an authentic hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So those things will cut your prayer. So you have to be careful. You shouldn't let anybody walk in front of you. You should have a sutra. Okay? So there are some things, though, that make your prayer no good. So that's why you have to have a sutra to protect you. Another thing that we have to be sure of is that you do not pass gas, of course, during the prayer. Because there's a hadith, and I think we mentioned this hadith before, that the man who came, Abad ibn Tamim, that a man, he shukiyan ila Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, rajul yukhaylu anhu yajid shay fi salat. A man came to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he was complaining that he maybe had passed gas in salat. This is the man was talking to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam responded to him. He said, La yansarif hatta yasma'u sawtin o yajida rihan. The Prophet ﷺ said, do not leave the prayer unless you hear something or you smell something. So if you think, you're not really sure if you pass gas, keep praying. Unless you smell something or you hear something. That means if you're you're not really sure. Sometimes the shaitan blows something on you to make you think you pass gas. He tries to trick you because he's trying to ruin your prayer. Okay? The Prophet ﷺ gave us the medicine for that, the prescription for that doubtfulness. He said, La yansarif hatta yasma'a sawtan o yajida rihan. He said, do not leave the prayer unless what? Unless what? Huh? Allahu Akbar. Jazakallah khairan ayyuha talib ilm. Good. So, that you don't leave the prayer unless you hear something or smell something. That's if you doubt. You don't really know. You think you're praying and you think the shaitan is whispering to you. You think you felt something. Don't leave the salat unless you're sure. And the way you can be sure is if you smell or you heard something. Okay? Another thing that makes your prayer invalid is if you have the intention, you deliberately leave out a pillar of the salat. And we talked about the pillars, the arkan of salat. So, Fatiha, Qiyam, standing for the prayer, reading Surah Al-Fatiha. What else? Tashahhud al-Akhir, the last tashahhud. All of those things are the things you must have in the salat. Those are arkan. If you leave the arkan deliberately, or a condition, those things you need before the salat, like tahara, wudu and things like this, or if you're not facing the qibla, or something like this, you leave those things which you must have in place before the salat and during the salat, then your salat is invalid. So we have to be careful of those things. All of those things invalidate our prayer. Another thing which is very, very important, these last two things, I'm going to speak very quickly. One of them is laughing. So if someone is making jokes and playing in a prayer, you don't laugh. You do your best. If you do laugh by mistake, your salat is over. You need to pray again. Can you laugh in the salat? Jazakallah khair. No, of course you can't. So no laughing. Be very careful, especially when there's little kids playing and joking. You try your best to concentrate on the prayer. Another thing which breaks your prayer is if you are eating and drinking. You can't eat and drink in the prayer. And the Prophet ﷺ, the scholars here, this Ibn Mundar said, the scholars are in agreement that, so this is a consensus. This means that the scholars in Islam, they agreed upon this. Okay, this is something they agreed upon it. The fuqaha, the people the imams, the great imams that we talked about before, they're in agreement that if anyone deliberately eats or drinks during the obligatory prayers, he must repeat them. So eating and drinking also nullifies your prayer, and we ask Allah the Almighty to accept our good and forgive our evil and protect us from having khalal or weakness in our prayer, and may Allah help us to be better slaves. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad.